She was meant to be forgotten. A side character in the storm of someone else's saga. A learner standing beside a master already lost to fate. Her story was never promised, her path never written in stars. And yet the galaxy kept turning toward her light. She was born into war, baptized in betrayal, and shaped by absence. She saw heroes fall and villains rise, and still walked a line neither claimed. With no prophecy to protect her, and no temple to shield her, she kept going. Every step defied logic. Every breath defied expectation. She was a question the Force itself seemed afraid to answer. Across timelines she wandered, through fire, through silence, through the ruins of belief. A shadow of the Jedi, a fragment of rebellion, a memory that would not fade. They tried to write her out, tried to end her quietly, but the myth kept surviving, because something deeper refused to let her go. There's something tragic in her endurance. Not triumph, not glory, just the ache of survival. She lives while others fade. She remembers what others forget. She carries the cost of being right when no one listened. And still she returns, blade in hand, truth in heart, unspoken in purpose. She is not chosen, she is not destined. She is the consequence of every choice left unresolved. A whisper in the storm, a presence that lingers, a wound the galaxy cannot close. And maybe, just maybe, she's the one thread that keeps the story from unraveling completely. In this video, we explore how Ahsoka Tano, once dismissed, once ignored, once nearly erased, became one of the most vital souls in Star Wars. How her survival wasn't an accident, but a necessity. And what her journey tells us about pain, legacy, and the power of walking alone. She was introduced like an echo, a side note in the storm of a galaxy far from calm. A young apprentice with eyes full of fire, and a name unfamiliar to legacy. Not meant to last beyond a few seasons, not drawn with permanence in the stars. She was given to Anakin like an afterthought, a wild card with no ending foretold. We never expected her to rise. Never thought she'd steal scenes from Skywalkers, and steal hearts from hardened fans. She was brash, loud, even grating to some. But something lingered behind her voice, a soul too vivid to fade into filler. Even in her flaws, she breathed more life than the scripts could contain. They tested her constantly, in war, in loyalty, in doubt. She wasn't forged by destiny like Anakin, or chosen like Luke. She was carved from decisions, molded by refusal, sharpened by absence. And with every betrayal, she stepped closer to something bigger than survival. There was no prophecy bearing her name, no chosen one labeled to excuse her presence. And yet she endured. Through exile, through shadows, through silence that tried to erase her. She did not ask for more, but the story kept writing her back in. So the question lingers like a whisper through hyperspace. If she was never meant to survive, then why does she still remain? Why does her legacy stretch across generations like a secret the Force refuses to let go? She should have fallen on Mortis, should have vanished in the temple, should have bled away during Order 66. The scripts were laced with traps meant to silence her. Yet she kept slipping through the cracks of fate, like smoke refusing to be caught. Why did the Council not trust her? Why did the writers give her loss after loss, but never closure? Why did no one fight for her when she walked away? For all her sacrifice, she was treated like a footnote in a boy's story. Like her pain was just another subplot, disposable and distant. Anakin failed her, the Republic betrayed her. Her own kind turned their backs while preaching peace, and still she stood. Still she fought. Still she found her path, without leaning on prophecy or pity. She was forced to be strong because no one wrote her the luxury of weakness. It's maddening how close she came to erasure. Every arc teased her exit like a promise. Every farewell felt final, every silence deafening. But some part of her refused to vanish. Some fragment of will that even tragedy couldn't crush. She was never supposed to overshadow the Chosen One, never meant to rival the Jedi who shaped her. And maybe that's why she survived, because she was never theirs to control, and never ours to underestimate. There's a grief that clings to her presence, not just for what she lost, but for how she keeps surviving. She walks through stories like a ghost that never got to rest, carrying names, memories, regrets that will never speak back to her. She lost her master to the dark, her friends to war, her faith to betrayal. And still, she keeps searching, not for revenge, but for understanding, for the fragments of light scattered in the rubble of everything she once believed. Her survival is not a triumph, it's a scar. Every breath she takes feels borrowed from a timeline where she should have died. Every step forward drags the weight of a past that never healed. She wears silence like armor, and sorrow like a second skin. Even when she reappears, it's never with joy. Always alone, always watching. Ahsoka doesn't celebrate her endurance. She endures because there's no other choice. Because someone has to remember what the Jedi forgot. And maybe that's why she lingers in our minds. Not because she thrived, but because she hurt so deeply, and kept going anyway. She is not bound by titles, not Jedi, not Sith, not pawn to prophecy or puppet to fate. She is something rarer. A being reborn not through destiny, but defiance. A soul lit by fire that refuses to dim. The galaxy moves around her like she's the axis of an unseen truth. Wherever she walks, the story bends. Rebels rise. Empires tremble. Hope flickers brighter. She commands no armies, yet inspires them. Bears no throne, yet shapes the map of rebellion. She learned from Anakin, but never became him. She saw the flaws of the Jedi, and chose something purer. A middle path forged from clarity, pain, and grace. Her blades are not red nor green. They are white, pure, balanced, unclaimed by order or chaos. She walks where others fear to tread. Into darkness, into silence, into the aching spaces between legends. She sees what others deny, feels what others numb. And still she fights with a serenity that borders on myth. Ahsoka is not alive because she was protected. She is alive because the Force could not afford to lose her, because every time the galaxy forgets its heart, she returns to remind it. In every generation, there is one who defies the script, who refuses to die when death is convenient, who rises not to conquer but to heal. Ahsoka became that flame, a quiet rebellion against the inevitability of despair. She shows us that survival can be noble, that walking away can be stronger than staying, that sometimes the ones who leave are the ones who understand best. Her path is not marked by victory, but by meaning, and that matters more. To every lost voice, to every silenced fighter, to every soul who feels forgotten, she stands as proof that impact does not demand permission, that legacy is not gifted, it's built, slowly, painfully, truthfully. She was not chosen, she chose herself, and in doing so, taught others to do the same. Her story is one of becoming, of shedding every expectation, and finding purpose in the quiet refusal to vanish. If there is still a future for the galaxy, if there is still hope among the stars, it will not be shaped by the loudest power, but by the ones who endure when no one is watching. She was never meant to survive, but maybe that's exactly why she did, because survival itself became her story, not as a victory, but as a lesson, a meditation on persistence, pain, and purpose. She bears the burden of memory, of what came before and what could have been. She is the mirror to every mistake the Jedi made, and the silent vow to never repeat them. Her continued existence forces the galaxy to reckon with its ghosts. There is tragedy in her journey, but beauty in her resilience. She is not light or dark. She is the shadow between the bridge across eras, the heartbeat of a myth that refuses to die. And maybe that is her answer. She survives, not because she was meant to, but because someone had to. Someone had to carry the truth, even when no one wanted to hear it. Someone had to stay behind to remind the next generation who they are. Ahsoka Tano was never meant to survive, so why did she? Because without her, the story itself would forget what it means to feel.